Good morning. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning.
We did it.
Yay!
Oh, see, now it's letting me stream. Okay. So you've been on this podcast journey with me, and every turn I've made, I've had some sort of technical issue. Still here, still showing up.
Absolutely.
My goal in the next like three or four podcasts is to have those cool intros that everyone does, like with the music, and then there's like a voiceover. But until then, I'm just going to read it.
I love it.
We're going to read it. So, hey, friends, and welcome back to the Happy Agent Podcast, a place where real estate pros come to ditch the hustle culture, build real confidence, and create a business and life that they actually love. I'm your host, Courtney Benson, and every week we're diving into real, honest conversations about what it really takes to grow not just a business, but a life that you love. And today's episode is going to hit close to home because we're talking about something that's way more important than your strategy. Last week we talked about strategy, and this actually came up from everybody because last week we were able to go live, and this comment came up over and over again about people's issue with just real estate in general. It's your
Yep.
self-esteem. So we'll get into that. Ooh,
Yeah.
self-esteem. It's so early for a Tuesday morning to be talking
I
about
know.
such heavy topics.
Like I talk about it, I think about it. I'm like, there's no such thing as too early or too late. It actually stormed here last night. I was giggling when you were saying that. I was like, apparently every 3 weeks, I'm just going to have to fly to Dallas and record in your house, so then we don't have technical issues,
Please,
right?
please do.
But no, it stormed last night here in Kansas City, and I have a very anxious border collie Aussie mix who was panting in my face at 2:30. And so I've been thinking about self-esteem all morning. So let's dive in.
Perfect. Do you want to? So this is my, as I just spill my water on me. So this is my first time hosting you on this new podcast that you're a collaborator on. And
Mhm.
so for those who don't know our
Right.
story and how we met, should we just like go through it
Yeah.
briefly? It was like a year ago, like almost a year ago to the day, I think at
Hmm.
this point.
Yep.
I was just feeling like life was just kicking my ass.
Yeah.
And I had come off a really successful year, probably my most successful year in real
Hmm.
estate, just at around $30 million. Switched companies, and I was going into a new year a little down. Like, it's just that
Hmm.
constant, like, shit, I gotta do this all over again. What if I don't, get the referrals? What if I don't? What if? And then I had what if to myself the entire first quarter of the
Right.
year and really just didn't sell anything. And I was in such a bad place and just really negative, which is typically my MO. And then I'm on TikTok because I love TikTok. And I came across one of your TikToks and then
Hmm.
just started binging that. And then I randomly reached out to you and I was like, I don't even know what you do, but can I like hire you? And then we got on a call. And then, so we got on a call and you were kind of like, well, how can I help you? And I said, I just really like that you are talking about mindset and things like that. You can make your life better by simply thinking it's better. And here's some tools on how to start thinking that it's
Hmm.
better and stop being such a damn pessimist, Courtney. And like, and then we talked and I was like, what does it take to work with you? And then you told me, and I was like, oh, like, do I get a handbag at the end of it? Like, that's just me, like very tangible. I
Right.
need something to hold in my hand. And
Hmm.
then you were like, that's up to you. What you get out of it is up to you. And
Hmm.
I was like, challenge accepted, Ryan.
Right.
That's a good summary.
Totally.
And we started working together, and it was just like the floodgates of
Mm.
my brain opened up because I
Yeah.
saw things clearer. And you helped me put that in motion.
Yeah. And what's so beautiful about it, and it was actually funny, I was going to text this to you the other day, but we had two soccer games and four baseball games this weekend. So I never got the text out, but I was thinking about that because it was May of last year. I was flying to Denver to give a talk, and the talk was still about sales. So I taught sales and marketing for years. Well, I was a sales leader in corporate and then taught sales and marketing to entrepreneurs, ran an agency, and I was just kind of spinning out of sales and marketing into this more personal development side of things because I was just seeing, as I went on my own personal development journey, I was seeing patterns in my clients that were coming to me saying, oh, I have a sales issue, or I have a marketing issue, or I don't know how to talk about my business. And I was like, no, 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 this is all an energetic issue, right? Like this is an internal issue. It's, you know exactly what to do. It's the conversation happening in your head. And so you were actually the first person who we really didn't talk a lot about sales and marketing. and gave me so much confidence in the fact that no, I was on the right track, right? Like I knew it, I was experiencing it in myself, but I didn't really have proof of concept. So even when you found me on TikTok, I was still talking about the two things together, right? Like I was still talking about if your sales numbers aren't where you want them to be, this is what's going on. And so, I mean, and yes, I still talk about that, but I've really kicked the sales and marketing out from underneath me. But it was really you who kind of lit that flame. You were like my first true proof of concept. And I didn't do it on purpose. It's just you came to the calls and you were like, this is what's going on, right? And I was like, okay, cool. Well, we're not going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about whatever going on in your life or whatever story, whatever's going on with you. And so it's a really beautiful full circle moment for me too, where I'm like, you were the first person where I was like, oh yeah, I don't have to hide this under business coaching or marketing or sales coaching, that this in and of itself, just the mindset and energetics is powerful enough to turn around a business, a marriage, a whatever is plaguing your life. So I have a
And
lot of
it
gratitude
seems
for that
like
too.
with sales and what we do in general, like we don't know always what our pain point is. So
Right.
at that time when I found you, my pain point was how do I go from selling $30 million to
Right.
selling no dollars? Like
Right. Yeah.
to drastic, like shocking just turn of events. And
Hmm.
what the hell happened to me? And so I thought that was my issue is
Right.
like, what am I doing? And I'm just kind of miserable.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until we started talking, and I would just kind of bring that I'm very not that I'm emotional. I think you bring out more emotion in me because we've had
Yeah.
so many conversations. So
Sure. Yeah.
typically, it's a little more on the surface with you than most
Right.
people. But
Sure.
it was just such a hard time in my life, and we'd get on the call, and you're like, "Hey, Courtney," and I'm like, and you're like, "What's happening? What's happening?" No. And then, that was really like the catalyst to it. And you're
Mhm.
like, well, let's unpack the bags that you're bringing to the party. Why are you
Mhm.
bringing it with you everywhere you go? Why, and kind of work through that. And
Yeah.
then in doing this, because I'm very much the kind of person where I'm like, if something works for me, I am not a gatekeeper. I'm just
Sure.
like, stop struggling, try
Mhm.
this, And so I just felt like, we'd worked through so much stuff. I realized I was not in the brokerage that I needed to be in and, worked through how to move on to that and just where did I need to be
Mhm.
my best self and be what I wanted to become, which
Right.
which I thought maybe was something else and it wasn't. And
Right.
so we worked through that in doing this and then being able to speak to other agents and just being a part of the community the way that I am. I realize I'm not alone
No.
and that there's so many of us, most of us, even especially honestly, especially the high producing agents,
Absolutely.
it is just rampant, but nobody wants to talk about it because if you do, it's like a chip in your armor.
I know.
People might think that you don't have it all together. And
Right.
so, that's why I want to talk about why real estate is really ground zero for
Right.
lack of self-esteem and lack of
Mhm.
confidence. So I kind of pulled out yesterday, Dante and I, Dante's my assistant, my AI assistant.
I love Dante.
I love Dante and he's hysterical. So we pulled out kind of five things
Mhm.
that I really see, and I know you really see too, because now you're
Absolutely.
working with a lot of real estate agents
I
as
do.
well.
Mhm.
They're like, if you can fix Courtney,
Stop.
you can fix anybody. So I want
Mhm.
to talk about those five things and
Sure.
how, it might not be like we talk so much about systems, and we did last
Yeah.
week that sometimes your systems aren't going to work until you do.
Amen.
Wherever you go, there you are. So the first thing with real estate, and
Mhm.
this is like really great for the people that are watching, if any of these resonate with you, this could be something that you need to unpack. So
Yeah.
number one is we are taught and
Yes.
it is ingrained in us that our success is our worth and the results that we get is really tied to our worth.
Mhm.
Are you seeing that with all the conversations you're having?
Yeah, absolutely. I see this in anybody in performance driven roles. So I see this in real estate. I see this in entrepreneurs. I see this even like in corporate sales professionals, right? Because the culture is pretty similar, right? What have you done for me lately? It's a very similar culture. It's numbers driven. It's goal focused. And so what started out, in my opinion, as this really cool profession where you could make as much money as you wanted to and help as many people as you wanted to, all of a sudden turned into a competition, right? And not to throw shade, but I'm gonna throw a little shade. Your brokerages do that to you guys on purpose,
Yes.
right? Like They know that most people who are drawn to the industry of real estate are people, right? They're extroverts. They're people like to be around people. They're people like to help people. They're people that are connectors and community builders. And so when that's inherently who you are, and then we can dangle a carrot in front of you, you'll chase it all day long, right? And so they kind of banked on. And then they just kept moving the carrot, right? It's like the donkey and the stick, it's just like they keep moving it and moving it and moving it. And we keep chasing it and chasing it and chasing it. And then you add that into a society of social media where we're constantly having it in our face of so-and-so makes this amount of money and so-and-so's this rank and so-and-so's done this and so-and-so's done that. And all of a sudden we all feel like crap. And that's what I see in agents as they come to me, even highly successful people with this idea, but I'm not as successful as that person, or I've been doing this for X amount of time. I should be further along. And so my favorite things to tell my clients when it comes to this is like, remove the word should from your language, right? Should comes from a place of something is wrong. And when we put out an energy of something is wrong, the only thing we can get back is something wrong, right? So if we get rid of should and replace it with could. So instead of I should be doing better, we can come at it with I could be doing better. And energetically, that just changes, right? Like I should be farther along versus I could be farther along, right? This place of the word that I'm going to use is curiosity is always going to yield a better thought or idea than should, which is in turn a judgment.
Well, and I think too is, do you even want to? Like I had
Amen to that.
yesterday, I was listening to a podcast. Where did I go yesterday? I don't remember. I went somewhere. Anyways, I was listening to a podcast outside of my typical 90s rap that I listen to. She was talking about like, do you want to do better? Like we're
Right.
always told like next year, the goalpost gets moved and now we're going to hit this.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from that 9 to 5 sales job.
Right.
And now we finally have our own. Do we want to? And I was thinking about that yesterday as I feel like I'm always trying to like kill myself to like get this and get that. And I want all these things. I think I want all these things. But as I've moved along the sales going from, I thought $10 million was if I hit $10 million, I would not have any problem. If I hit $10 million and lost weight, I like, well, okay, 20 million. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, 30 million. And then I spent December 31st crying.
Of course.
It's like, it's not, do I want to do more? I don't even know if I can do more. And it's okay. Like we set these goals, but do you really want what the life looks like to get that? I think we have created a fantasy. And I know a lot of these agents who sell 100 homes a year.
Yeah.
And there's this fantasy of, oh my God, I wish I could do that. But if you really knew who they were and you really talked to them, it's not as pretty as you think.
I've talked to several of those people and they are the most miserable. They are more miserable than the people who are like trying to sell, 4 homes a quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a tough, even with the support, it's tough. I mean, we know we've got 4 clients and they'll be tough. I mean, you multiply that by 10 and the money doesn't resolve any of that.
No.
So, let's talk about, so number 2 really is that constant rejection, is that there is constant rejection in this business. And, I don't get every listing appointment I go on. I don't get every buyer. And then it really becomes a reflection of us. Because another thing that we're going to talk about later, which I told you is like my favorite thing, is we are selling ourselves. We're not really selling a product. When people say, oh, I sell houses for a living. No, you don't. You sell yourself.
Absolutely.
I mean, we could sell anything. We're just selling ourselves. And then it happens to be real estate. And at this point, we went from, I think when I became a realtor 13 years ago, the social media wasn't so big. So you had to be a really damn good real estate agent if you wanted to get referral business. Anymore, you are marketing number 1 and then real estate number 2. So you'll get some really successful agents who are really shitty at doing real estate.
Absolutely.
Like, we're great at the video, but you don't want them negotiating for you.
Right.
So I feel like I'm in a good mix. I've got both, but we do face constant rejection. And because we're selling ourselves, we're not selling a product, it gives you the feeling of they're rejecting you because you are the product. So what's something that we could do to work on that perspective?
So the language that I use is I always talk about playing the energy game, right? An energy game, it's rooted in universal law. You can call it law of attraction. You can call it manifestation. You can call it whatever feels good to you, right? But what you put out, you get back. And so to me, when it comes to rejection, one of my favorite things to teach is the idea that rejection is protection, right? If it's not a fit, it's not a fit for a reason. Right. And it could be not a fit because you just got saved from some crazy ass client, right? That you didn't want to work with anyway, or you're not ready. So even if they said yes, you wouldn't have been able to perform because like you said, your inner energy, your self-esteem isn't aligned with being able to handle that type of client. So my reframe in that as always is rejection is protection. And when we can see things as protection instead of a personal attack, it's an opportunity to go inside and say, okay, again, was this me or was it them? Right? Was it just we were not a match, or was it I'm not ready? And this is, I talk a lot about nervous system regulation, which my real estate agent friends really hate because it involves slowing down. And y'all swear you cannot do that. But that is why, because if you don't have the capacity to hold, which is probably what happened to you at the end of 2023, it's very much what happened to me in 2022 when I had my $1 million year, right? And everything fell apart, was my nervous system couldn't hold it, right? Like energetically, I was not the person who could hold that amount of success, that amount of pressure, that amount of whatever story my body was telling me. You can't hold it. So, most of the time when you're getting rejected, it's you're not ready, right? Like you have to prepare yourself energetically to be the type of person who can hold $30 million in production, right? Or $1 million business or whatever that looks like, that was my instance. So to me, the rejection is not, okay, that person over there doesn't like me. The rejection is energetically, we're not a match. And if you can reframe that and then do the inner work to determine that I'm only a match for great fit clients, right? So I now have clients who don't care when they don't get listings. Of course, it's a learned behavior, right? Like the ego hit of being rejected. You got to get over that, right? But once you do, it's like, cool, we weren't a fit. I wasn't going to be able to help that client. I wasn't going to be able to get that client the result that we wanted, or I wasn't going to be able to have the experience that I want to have, right? And so that is what's really, I think, going on in rejection is we're not an energetic match.
What's the first step when we get rejected and we're like, shit, it's me. I wasn't prepared. I'm not good enough. I'm not. So what is the first step that somebody's going to take to stop that conversation in their head and move towards something better?
Again, it all comes back to curiosity. You have a choice. You can choose to judge yourself. I'm not good enough. And then of course you weren't supposed to get that deal because you think you're not good enough. And as long as you're not good enough, you're going to get told no. So stop rejecting yourself. That's what this really is about. If you wonder out like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I don't know enough. Do you want to do business with somebody who thinks about that all day long? If somebody's trying to sell you a vacuum cleaner and you sit down in front of them and you really wanted to buy the vacuum cleaner and that person looks like somebody peed in their Cheerios and they really don't like themselves and they look insecure and they look like maybe this vacuum cleaner isn't as good as I thought it was, you wouldn't buy the vacuum cleaner either. So it's not an opportunity to beat yourself up. It's an opportunity for you to stop rejecting yourself.
And that's hard when you get you're like, sweet, I finally got these appointments. And sorry, and you get these appointments and you can see the amount dwindling in your bank account. And then they're like, no. And you're like, shit. And then, I mean, the reality is you bring all that with you.
Absolutely.
And you bring, even if you don't talk about it, you bring that, oh my God, I'm going broke. Oh my God, please hire me. You bring that energy with you. And so it really is, and it's hard, man. It's hard to change that when you're like, do I pay insurance this month? Do I, and there's a lot of people that are in that cycle and it's to get out of. And then, let's talk about the comparison culture. And I dabbled in this last week when I went to the real estate convention. And I shared a TikTok about it from my hotel room. We were in San Antonio at it's called RevB. It's a real estate video blueprint. And so it's all like, the best of the best social media people and all that. And it's hard. I think I have always stayed away from the real estate conventions and things like that. So that was only the second one I had been to because I think and it's just a belief you have, Courtney, I can hear you, is that a lot of us are just kind of dicks. Like we spend a lot of time showing our worth by talking about how much we sell or how many referrals we get. And it's just like this ad nauseum. Nobody asked. It's just like brought to the conversation immediately. And so it can kind of feel icky sometimes. And I've gotten to the point where I also stopped telling people how busy I am. I hate when people tell me how busy I am. Cool, don't care. So am I. Like, it's kind of that kind of energy. Like, it's just a validation of.
It's a dick measuring contest.
It is a dick measuring contest. And it's a hit of dopamine. I mean, that's the whole, like, you're sitting in a room full of social media people. It's a constant hit of dopamine. Anytime somebody likes something or whatever. So you're chasing that. And so it's a tough crowd to be around. I mean, so what do we go to these events or you don't get invited to the events. What does that conversation in your head look like?
When you don't get invited to the events or when you go to the events and you...
even when you do.
Yeah,
I got invited to the event. I didn't get invited to the stage. And I was like, motherfuckers, next year I'm gonna be like,
absolutely.
and it's a goal. So what do those conversations look like?
So let's start with comparing ourselves with others first. And, my favorite quote in the world, and I don't know who said it, is comparison is the thief of joy, right? Like comparison is its own form of torture because it's all made up. Right? Like, and this is and this is why people love you so much, Courtney, is you will air all of your dirty laundry. So you're like, hey, listen, you want to compare yourself to the $30 million in real estate I did? Let me tell you about all the bullshit that went along with that, right? Most people either don't do that, right? Or they don't want to see that. They don't want to see that. So I think when it comes to the comparison game is like, you have no idea. Like, and I did this in my very first business coach who I hired actually wound up becoming my business partner, and it ended catastrophically. But what it was I hired her because of the external numbers she was talking about, right? She had what I wanted, right? She had a thriving business making millions of dollars. Her husband was a stay-at-home dad. She had a kid, like she was able to exit corporate. I was like, I want that. But I never asked the questions of like, how many hours a week do you work? Like, do you like your husband? Like, do you like the work that you're doing? Do you like the clients you work with? Like, what do you do for fun? What does your life look like? I didn't ask those questions. And so what I didn't realize until I got, behind the curtain, if you will, that it was like, there's no amount of money that is worth this shit. Like there is no amount of money that I want that life. I don't care if you live in a $4 million house on the beach in Florida. You're miserable. You don't like your husband. You exist on Doritos and Diet Coke. This family first business that you said that you had is not true. Just because your kid's always there doesn't mean you actually speak to her and engage with her. And those are all things I found. And so you could look at that woman and compare yourself to her. I could have, right? But you don't know. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. You only know what people are willing to tell you. And so comparison is just a waste of time and energy because you don't know. They may be thriving in their career. Maybe their marriage is falling apart, right? Maybe their parent is dying of cancer. Maybe they have a terminally ill child. Like you have no clue what is happening behind the scenes. So to look at somebody on a stage in a 45-minute keynote and then tell yourself you're not good enough or smart enough because you don't have what they have is ridiculous, quite frankly, right?
The
So
reality is you may not want it too. Like
no.
in real estate, it is rampant for
Mhm.
people to have big teams,
Yeah.
and they'll take all the numbers from a big team, so it looks like they're producing a lot,
Mhm.
but in reality they're not. Like you talked to them, they're
Right.
like, we did $150 million, but
Right.
that person actually only sold $2 million,
Right.
but you don't know that. Or most of
Exactly.
their revenue went from buying Zillow leads, and
Sure.
they may have tripled your numbers, but their actual net profit is
Sure.
less than yours. But nobody talks about it. And that was why I wanted to create this community, and the
Right.
happy community is because I'm like, why does nobody talk about stuff? Like when I was at the event this last week, and it's funny, I keep getting pushed to YouTube. Like I feel like the world
Yeah.
keeps telling me, I don't know why, and I get entangled in it, and I'm like, it's too hard. So I was talking to this huge YouTube person she was like the final speaker, and I happened to be sitting in the back of the room on my suitcase, like getting ready to go to the airport, and I was just kind of hanging out. She came out, she's like, oh, are you leaving? And I said, well, yeah. I said, YouTube's up next, and I'm just not on it, so I don't care. She's like, well, I'm the speaker for
Right.
it. And I
Right.
was
Yeah.
freaking course, like, of course you're the speaker. And I'm like, and so she starts talking to me, and she's like pitching me on this idea of YouTube, and she's like, I don't even really sell real estate anymore. I refer it out, but I make money off of my YouTube content. And I was like, how much? She goes, what? I said, how much? Like everyone tells me they make so much money off of
Right.
stuff. But like, let me see the receipts. Like, I don't believe you. Like, and she's like, well, I make 10 to 50,000 a month off of her content. And I was like, oh, it's worth listening to. I guess I'll stay. I guess I'll stay before I get to the
Here's
airport.
the key point, right? Like somebody else is watching that woman and they're thinking she's making money from selling real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And it's actually one of the things you have told me from the very beginning is you're like, I actually love that you're not in real estate. Right.
Yeah.
Because I'm not ever going to stand over here and be like, you should hire me because I sold XYZ last year. Because it doesn't matter. Right. Like, so again, this woman, I don't know, did she ever in her talk tell you that her money comes from YouTube and not selling real estate? Or did she?
She did.
Oh, good.
She was very transparent.
That's amazing.
It would probably be nice if I remembered her name right now, but I suck with names, so I didn't.
We'll tag her later. We'll give her credit later.
That sounds about right. But she did. She was very honest and she kind
Yeah.
of explained it. And I was like, okay. And then yesterday I spent some time on YouTube and I was like, maybe tomorrow, Satan, not
Or
today.
maybe you just ask yourself, do I really want to be on YouTube, or do I feel like I should be on YouTube because everybody says?
I know. I know. That's a hard one for me. And we had talked about that early
Mhm.
on when I was like,
Yeah.
when you hear all the gurus and they're like, I get up and I stretch and do yoga and then I like, listen to all these wonderful things and I time block and I'm like, I'm over here eating like Cap'n Crunch, watching my 600-pound life and on my fourth cup of coffee by 6 a.m. And then I'm like, so then how do I sell what I sell by not doing all the things that, and you're like, first of all, are they doing it?
Right.
Like, and secondly, if that's not something you want to do, then don't do it.
Right.
I have to remind myself of that. Like, and you were like, what if you are successful because you don't time block?
Right.
But it's so funny. Like, I followed the path and I was thinking about it this morning because I hate when people put their thumb on me. I get real like rebellious, like, oh, don't tell me what to do. Don't tell, like, I hate it,
Right.
And so I've been like toying with the idea of time blocking again
Mhm.
because I feel like my life is running me right now. I'm not
Sure.
running my life. And so I'm like, I don't know. Should I dabble in it? Should I? I don't know.
Could you?
Could I?
I could time block.
I could.
I could be better organized with my time.
I do like that you said to me one time and then I wrote the journal because you were
Yeah.
like, you should journal. And then me,
Yeah.
I was like, there's no good, cute journal. So then I'm like, hey, Ryan, I wrote a journal over the weekend. And you're like, okay,
Great.
good.
Tell me more.
And then you said to me, I said, "Okay, this is going to be my new thing. I'm going to journal." And you were
Yeah.
like, okay, now if you miss a day, I don't want to hear from you later that you failed yourself because you
Right.
missed a day. So, even just as we move through things and we're adding stuff to our life, like I like what they're doing. I want to add that in and add that in is giving ourselves grace to be like, okay, we missed a day. Okay, it's okay. It's okay.
Or the question is, when you add something, if your life is already full, you have to remove something else. Like, again, that's the thing. We're like, I'm going to
Right.
add YouTube and I'm going to add journaling and I'm going
Yeah.
to add this and I'm going to add that. And we don't take anything away. And then we're like, I don't understand. I'm so busy all of the time and I don't have any time to take care of myself. And my business is a hot mess and I'm so stressed out all of the time.
Is
Yeah.
that the problem? Is that we really don't remove anything. We just keep,
Oh,
well, that was a light bulb moment.
yeah. More on
Yeah.
top of, like, that's not a thing, you
That's
know?
exercise to add in journal.
You can't remove what you aren't doing, Court. It's not a thing.
That's right. God damn it. God, that was it. I'm going to remove the 15 minutes a day where I beat myself up about not exercising.
Bingo.
Thank
Yes. Yeah. But like that's the thing that people don't talk about, you know? They're like, I get up every morning and I do this, and this, and they didn't tell you what they traded. And I don't mean this in the term of sacrifice, because I'm not a big believer of sacrifice, right? But they didn't tell you that they traded, sleep. They didn't tell you that they traded, snuggling with their spouse in the morning and getting that extra time because they got out of bed at 5 a.m. to do the things. They didn't tell you that they traded. Or like when my kids were little, that's what, when I used to get out of bed for my morning routine to journal and do all the things and exercise, I didn't get snuggles with my kids when they were little. Like that was the trade-off I made. And again, I'm not mad about it. There, in my mind, that was not a sacrifice. I get plenty of other cuddle times with my kids. But do you know what I'm saying? Like we see people do things and we're like, I want to do this and I want to do this and we want to do this. And we're like, what's the trade-off energetically? What's the trade-off time-wise? What's the trade-off to my mind chatter? Right? Like some people aren't meant to get out of bed at 5 a.m. Like they're stressed out before they go to bed the night before because their alarm's going to go off at 5. That's not a good trade-off, right? So it's kind of like understanding what's the energetic exchange.
So as we move forward and we plan our calendars and we do all this, we're plugging in our non-negotiables for our life. Because I mean, we're one of the best things that you ever said is, we're entrepreneurs. And the thing about when you're an entrepreneur, every self-doubt, childhood trauma, whatever BS you have comes to the surface to deal with every problem.
Yep.
And so you're just like somebody is being a pain in the ass about an inspection report. And I'm like, who do I bring to that table to have that conversation? I bring to the table the fat kid that got picked on. I bring to the table I'm bringing all of these things that I've dealt with all my life when I deal with it in that moment. So then their emotion then hits my emotion and now we're both emotional, which over time I've learned to get rid of that or suppress it. But that's what we see is that agents are very emotional because they've got whatever their shit is, their can't pay their bills, they don't have another client after that, or something is going on, and they bring it to every situation, which is typically what makes real estate things blow up. So in removing some of that and removing the chaos and our badge of honor of being busy all the time,
Right.
we're scheduling ourselves in our life. But with that, we also need to have that conversation of, okay, I am doing this. Sometimes when I'm at the baseball game, I am negotiating a contract or whatever,
Sure.
but I have to know that some things will fall off because I'm choosing to do this versus that, and it will be okay.
I'm even going to change your language on that. There aren't things that are going to fall off, right? Like, again, if we play the energy game, I am only an energetic match to what I desire. And I don't want clients that are pain in the ass. I don't want clients that can't wait an hour for me to get back to them. I don't want a business where I can't hang out with my kids. So to me, it's like we're not letting things fall off. We're honoring our higher self. And when we honor that version of us is when things get to be easy, right? That is when, and I'm going to use you as an example, right? Like when you stopped, we pulled apart your money stories and like your relationship with your parents and all of that shit, right? Like we pulled that was the first thing we tackled. And as we started to pull those threads, like all of a sudden you realize like, oh shit, like you talked about the bag, like the bag I'm carrying isn't even mine. It's not my bag. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this bag down. And then all of a sudden business started flowing. You didn't do anything different. Nothing had to fall off. You didn't have to sacrifice anything. You didn't have to torture anything. You didn't even have to change your marketing. You didn't do anything different except for put down the baggage you were carrying. And that's what the work that I do with my clients is about, is what can you put down that wasn't yours to begin with so that you can become an energetic match to clients who understand that I'm watching my kid play baseball right now and I need you to wait a damn.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, we feed into that because they can't wait and then we can't wait. And now the energy we bring to that conversation is pure frustration because now, I'm missing my son hitting because this one's having a meltdown about something. And now we both are emotional and it just makes for a bad transaction. And then you go from that to the next one and you just keep doing it. And I agree. We have to set down our shit before we deal with anybody else's.
Absolutely.
And absolutely, I agree. And then, just in being able to do that and saying going forward, I'm going to set down my bag that I didn't even pack, that I
Right.
carry with me. I'm going to set it down before I go into this negotiation, this conversation, or whatever it is. And then keeping your promise to yourself. Because I do think that's a huge part of self-esteem issues with people is
Yeah.
we don't keep our own promises to
No.
ourselves. And then we're sitting in front of a client telling them we have all these promises we're going to make them, but we know that we don't keep our promises. So they know we don't keep our promises.
And
And
it's not conscious. Like that's why I call it the energy game. Like nobody says, I didn't pick that real estate agent because I didn't think they were going to keep their promises, right? They said I chose this agent over here because we just vibed better, right? Like I just felt better. We just got along better. It was just more of a match, right? Because when you come there with all of your insecurities and all your bags packed of like, please pick me, pick me, pick me, pick me. Like I call it needy energy, right? Like when you show up with needy energy, the only clients you're a match for are also people with needy energy. So of course, all of your transactions are a shit because you showed up with your needy energy and the people who did say yes showed up with their needy energy. And so you got the deal, but you got the deal from somebody else with needy energy.
yeah, and we don't like those. We don't like
My favorite thing to say and to teach my clients is I'm energetically unavailable for bullshit. And I did this like long before I started doing this work. This was something, a baseline I created, I don't even know at this point in the game, with like friendships. Like there's the rumors about like girls are dramatic and da 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 da. And I'm like, I don't have that experience because I'm just energetically unavailable for it. Like it's just a no for me. Go take your drama and your gossip and your bullshit somewhere else. And it's always been that way for me. And I've had friends, I remember there was like a friend group and there was one friend who had a whole lot of needy energy and another friend who she used to text all the time. What do you know? That friend was a real estate agent. And she used to text that person all the time. And this girl was like, she doesn't text you? Like you don't get these messages? And I'm like, no. And she's like, why? And I'm like, because I don't entertain it. It's just no. At the time I was thinking it was my 30s. I'm like, I'm 30 something years old. Like, no, hard pass. So to me, it's kind of the same thing with clients. Like I'm energetically unavailable for bullshit. That doesn't mean I don't have empathy. It doesn't mean I don't have compassion. It doesn't mean I don't care about people, but we don't do bullshit here. And so in my almost 6 years of being an entrepreneur, I've had a handful of clients who were a hot mess, but that's about it. And they were from the moments when I was at my neediest. That's the only reason they showed up.
Gabe and I were laughing when we were losing everything back in like 2009, 2010, and we had to sell our house and we hired a realtor and he just had been doing this for decades.
Sure.
And he came in and he's just very confident and this is what we're going to do and here's where we're going to price it. And we were like, okay. And we just went forward with what he said to do. And I remember we were on the market like 2 months and Gabe's like, do you think I should call him and ask him to lower the price? And I was like, okay. So Gabe calls him and he's like, I think we should lower the price. And he goes, no. And Gabe goes, okay, all right, great. And like that was it. And we sold it for asking. But
Yeah.
he was just like, I don't ever recall, we never called him to ask him like which items we should pack in our own home,
Right.
if we should clean the house, if we should like put stuff in storage. Like people ask us the wildest shit. And I'm like, we become life managers for 60 days and it's insane, but it's because we're giving that energy of being a life manager.
Yeah.
I don't, never once, his name was Keith Dobbs. Never once did Gabe and I call Keith Dobbs because if we had called him, he would have been like, why are you asking me that?
Yes.
Like he would not have put up with our shit.
Right.
Gabe, like not for a minute. And you knew that.
Yep.
And so we respected his role as our real
Yeah.
estate agent to
Yeah.
sell our home, not
Yeah.
to help us figure out what to pack or put in storage or where should we put the dogs when the showing happens or where like all of a sudden all the adult stuff that we do every day goes out the window when we're selling our house and we're like, who's the person? Oh, our realtor, you know? And so we take that on.
Sure.
But if we stop that energy,
Yeah.
like Sharon Srivatsa, he's our president, he was talking about people bringing monkeys to you, like
Yeah.
the proverbial monkey. And he gave this great advice. And he said, you know, people will come in. That's my, hey, Courtney, that's where it came from. Hey, Courtney, real quick. Hey, Courtney, can I ask you something? And I got, hey, Courtney to death. And so it became a joke. So that's why I'm the, hey, it's Courtney Benson, is that people will, hey, real quick. And they come in and they dump their monkeys on you and the monkeys are running around the room. And, you know, we've talked about two people want your energy. They don't want to actually resolve anything. They just want to take your energy and walk out and go, check, I did something good today. And then they walk out still toxic.
Right.
So they dump their monkeys and they run around and then they turn around and walk away and you're left with other people's monkeys. And Sharon was like, you let them speak. And then you say to them, you know what? You are such a smart, capable person. I know that you're going to find the best resolution for you. And in that moment, they have to pick up their monkeys and they take them with them. And you don't say, but if you need anything, let me know, because then you just took the monkeys back. So you got to stop it. And I'm working on that. When
Sure.
when the monkeys get brought to me, that is wonderful. I know you're a smart, capable person. Cheering you on. And that's it. Let them have their monkeys back. We need to do that with clients too. Like we don't
Without
need to help them figure out how to pack their mattress to take to the next house. That is not something that needs to be on a task list for us to do. But we take on all the things.
But again, I think it's a choice and people don't like to hear that. Very specifically, real estate agents do not like to hear that because they're like, well, they asked me. It's like, okay, you know, I used to say this to my ex-husband often. It's probably why we're not married anymore, but I'm like, is Google broken? Like, I don't understand why you were asking me questions that you can Google.
People ask me questions all the time and I Google them while I'm on the phone with them and send them things. Like I don't.
But the response to that, if you don't know the answer to the question, is like, I'm actually not 100% sure, Courtney, what the best choice is for you. But what I would do if I were in your situation and I would just go to Google or I would ask ChatGPT or I would ask blah, 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 right? Like, but again, there's this, it's because we have our self-worth in the outside world, right? It's the external validation.
Valid. Yeah.
I need you to validate me. And if I don't answer your question when I ask it, then you're going to think that I'm not good enough, right? When the way most people think is, well, I'm going to ask the person I think of first. And if that person can't answer my question, I'm not pissed. I'm just going on to the next place.
Well, and it's really as a sense of relief. And I've been working on it too, because I have a lot of agents in my network to work with, and I love doing that, but I can't be the end all be all for everybody. And I've gotten very clear about that too, is that when somebody would come to me and ask me a question, if I didn't have an immediate answer, I would research it and and then now I'm an hour into somebody else's freaking problem. Meanwhile, mine are stacking up. And so finally I've gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not really sure. I'm not sure. And it's okay for me not to be sure. You just brought something to me. I don't know. And we need to start doing that. Like our worth isn't tied to our response every single time. Like It's okay to not know. It's okay to not take that problem on. But, again, we'll go, the one I was telling you earlier that I loved, one of the biggest problems about the self-esteem is going
Mhm.
back to that we're not selling a product. We don't have a
Mhm.
product that someone's rejecting. We're not selling vacuum cleaners. Like, do you
Right.
want my vacuum cleaner? No. Okay, well, it's the vacuum cleaner. We are selling us. And so that's that constant,
But I
you know,
disagree because you wouldn't buy a vacuum cleaner from somebody you didn't like.
Gabe said, I have. Damn it, Gabe.
But that's also a male brain thing too, more so than women.
Well, because most of the time people don't have a house in mind when they come to talk to you. So they're buying the concept that you can help them.
Sure.
So I always tell agents too, when they, especially new agents, when they go to listing appointments or they go to buyer consultations, if you find yourself over talking or you're out of breath or whatever it is, you are trying to over validate
Right.
your paycheck, and stop doing that. People really don't want the nicest realtor. They want the most effective one who will have their back. And if you're just like, peppy and doing all this, that's not what they're looking for.
When I taught sales for years and years and years, my favorite thing to say was people's most basic human need is to feel seen, heard, and understood. And I don't care if you're selling a vacuum or a house or coaching and consulting services or courses or YouTube, whatever. If you can make somebody feel seen, heard, and understood, they will do business with you. That does not mean, like you said, you have to be the nicest or the most bubbly or the most, available. It means you have to see them, hear them, and understand them. And this is where, when it comes to this whole idea of selling yourself, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. Is like, that is an energy thing. Like, you bought from me because I told you very confidently that I 110% understand. That was my life about 18 months ago. And I know exactly how to fix it. And you aside, once you got over the fact that I wasn't going to give you a handbag at the end, you were like, here's my money, right? If I'd gotten on that phone and tried to tap dance and song and dance and da 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 da, you would have told me to go fly and kite. Like, you would not have wanted to work with me, right? It made you feel seen. I told you weren't alone. I talk to all high achievers like this all the time. And that's not bullshit, guys. It's true. It's literally what I do for a living, right? I made you feel heard. Like, yeah, I get it. When you're the person who has all the answers all the time, where the do you go for advice? And then finally it was like, yeah, I understand it and I know how to fix it, right? What we do is we're like, well, I have to make them think that I'm the smartest and I'm the prettiest and I'm the most successful and I've been doing it the longest and da 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 da. And we go into over performance when that's not what anybody ever wanted.
Yeah. No, I
When it
know.
comes to selling yourself, go ahead.
No, I was saying we do tell ourselves stories,
Right.
and we've made up a situation and a solution or a resolution before it even happened.
Yeah.
That's definitely, that self protection.
Sure.
I think one of the kind of the last points in this, why we have such a rampant self-esteem issue in real estate, is
Mhm.
we don't have bosses.
Mhm.
We are our own bosses.
Sure.
So, well, my dad said, "Oh, you're getting into real estate, you're trading one boss for hundreds." And I'm like, "That's true, because then, we're working with our clients, but we don't get pay raises or performance reviews, that we don't hit these metrics that we're like, okay, check, we're doing a good job. We're doing a
Sure.
good job." It feels like the performance reviews are the emotional validation
Sure.
from clients. Or
Mhm.
I was telling, we had a client last week, sweetest lady. She bought me a gift, like, and she said thank you. She was the most gracious, grateful person,
Mm.
and she had a real shit situation that I stepped in and was able to remedy very quickly and exceeded her expectations. And I felt very good about that. I was very happy that I could do that for her. But she just
And
kept
she reflected that gratitude right back to you with the gift?
and I know, and we were at closing and she just kept saying, "Thank you, thank you. You have the best soul. Thank you so much. You
Mm.
have no idea what you did for me." And I said, like, her name's Jan. I said, "I appreciate you so much." And I said, "And thank you for saying thank you."
Yeah.
And she goes, "What?" Like, literally, she goes, "What?" And Gabe was standing there. I said, "You have no idea that people actually don't say thank you to us at all. Like, we get to closing and we get, like, most of the time they don't have any idea what happened on the backside that we stopped them having to deal with. There's not even just as a human to human, like, thank you.
Right.
There's no, never. Like, it's so rare. And so it would bother me so much. I remember this story so Gabe's had his license about 7 years. I'm my license 13. And I would come home from a closing and I would be in a bad mood about something. And he would go, like, "What's your problem?" And so I said, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it." And I remember it was like his second or third closing and he came home and he goes, "I get it." And I go, what? He goes, I get it. He goes, I get why you would come home from closings and you'd be upset about something. And I would say, you just got a big old check. Like, what the hell is your problem?
Right.
And he goes, it wasn't the money. It was you just wanted them to be happy, or you wanted them to be just say thank you or see you for a minute or whatever that was. And it doesn't come. And I was like, no, it doesn't come. Like, you have to know in your heart that, you know what, I did a great job
Sure.
and I'm good with that. And their lack of gratitude or thank you, or they're upset because somebody left a pair of roller skates in the garage but took everything else out of the house, and they were pretty sure those roller skates were meant there to sabotage their move somehow. And they just won't stop talking about the roller skates. Yes, this has happened. Like, you're just like, holy shit. Like, dude, throw the damn skates away, move on. But they don't. And so you have to learn that you just go, yeah, that's cool. You got free roller skates. I have some clients right now. They're like, we're homeless. I said, you're not homeless. You're mortgage free. You're welcome, because you asked for that. You're welcome.
Right.
So just kind of reframing that, like you said, it's not a reflection of us and it has nothing to do with us. They're just projecting stuff. And
Right.
we have to be confident in ourselves to know that that is not something that we're going to now take home with us to our
Right.
family. We're not going to take it to our next appointment. That is their monkey that they get to keep.
Yes.
Take it with you. There you go.
Right.
That kind of thing. So, yeah.
But that comes from, again, this whole conversation around self-esteem. And I'm really big on definitions. So I looked up the definition of self-esteem before we started, which is confidence in one's own worth or abilities, and ultimately self-respect, right?
Mm.
Self-respect. And so again, we live in this world where, there's a fine line between like holding a boundary and being an asshole, right? But the more you practice holding a boundary, the less the boundary gets tested, right? The more you practice, if somebody calls you freaking out about something post closing, you don't fix it. You did your job. It says nowhere in our contract that I'm responsible for this thing. But again, well, if I don't go fix it for them, then they will never refer me to anybody else. And what will happen to my business? Yeah. Do you want more of those people?
Well, the funny thing is, if they get to that point where they're hysterical after Gabe had this, somebody called 2 years later because his microwave broke, and he told Gabe he had to come fix it himself. And Gabe's
Yeah.
like, it's been 2 years. I don't fix microwaves. And he was like, you sold me this house for a fucking microwave. But that need of like, oh, we did something wrong. Oh, we gotta fix it. And no, like, we point them to somebody else. Because the reality is, if somebody is in that state of mind, they're not referring you anyways. They're not. That ship sailed. This need to be nice to and give value to everybody for
Right.
decades on end without anything being asked or any sort of reciprocation is wild to me. And we had that conversation in the beginning. I'm like, well, I get all these referrals, and you're like, do you? Like, who's referring you? So you now give that person a Christmas gift every year for 10 years. So that commission's been done and spent over the past 10 years. What if have they sent you anybody? Have they
Right.
invited you to? No, but that's what we're supposed to do. Stop it. And you were like, stop it, Courtney. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you for giving me permission. Stop.
Right.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I just needed somebody to tell me to stop the stupidness, because I knew it was stupid, but
Sure.
so tell everybody, what does this work look like if they want to, if
Sure.
like this resonated, like,
Yeah.
holy shit, those things are me. I'm doing that because I will tell you, holy shit, these things are me.
Totally.
And you can still have these things and still produce. You can
Of
still have these
course.
things, but it just makes it a little rougher. So we're trying to smooth that
Yeah.
out and take away that struggle essentially. So what does that look like?
Sure. I always say that it never goes away, right? Like, we are humans having human experiences. It's not supposed to go away. It's the difference of whether or not you let it drive, right?
Mm.
Like, the insecurity can be present, but it doesn't have to drive,
Yeah.
right? The anxiety can be present, but it doesn't have to drive, right? So really, my superpower is helping you, let's continue with this, like, put those bags down, right? Like, again, that bag isn't yours. That story isn't yours. Like, that's not your belief system. That was one that was either given you by the industry, by your parents, by where you grew up. So that's really the work. And we're actually creating a program right now that is specific for the happy agent community, called the Energetics of Winning for real estate agents, right? And what I'm really excited about is we're pulling apart just basically based on my work with Courtney is the biggest issues that come up for you guys, right? Is first of all, understanding you are the asset, right? This comes from the identity and the self-worth. And then how do we battle the burnout and the hustle culture? And how do we look the rules in the face and tell them to go fly a kite, right? We talk about energy. How do we create? How do we become magnetic, right? We're going to deal with your money stuff. Like those are all the things of really what the work looks like. So we're going to create something that's specific for the happy agent community. You know, in my current clients that I work with some clients one-on-one. I have some group programs. I have self-study work. So it's just kind of, you know, choose your own adventure for what feels most aligned to you. I always say, like, you know, when this work is for you. Like, this is not the type of work where you approach it from like a Hail Mary, save me kind of way. Right? Like that's not how you're going to get the best bang for your buck in doing the energy work. Because again, you're still doing it from a place of transaction instead of doing it from a place of how do I become the person who is no longer energetically available for bullshit, right? How do I become the person who is no longer ever in a situation where I have to take a bullshit deal because I need the money, right? How do I become the person who can say no to an opportunity because it's not an aligned opportunity, right? Like that's ultimately what the work is. If you're doing this just because, and I say this very specifically because this was my story. I got into personal development because I'd done all the professional development and hadn't, and still had the same problems, right? I was like, well, it must be me. I must be broken. But I still approached it from this place of, okay, well, I just need more clients, right? I just need more money. I just need more followers. I just need more. And it wasn't until I really started being like, okay, how do I become the energetic match to that thing instead of how do I go find more money, right? Because that comes from a place of lack versus how do I become the person where money is just no longer a thing? Not that it's not a thing, but it's not something that I feel the need to chase or I feel the need to prove. So that's really what the work is about.
Good. Well, thank you. Okay, I have
Welcome.
a question. I got to ask Dante.
Okay.
Hey, Dante, are you there? Dante, what's he doing? Why is he not? Okay, let me ask him. Okay. So I told you I've been watching or listening to Alex Earl.
Yes, you did tell me that.
Her Hot Mess podcast. So she has hot mess questions. Okay. All right. So I'm asking him for a hot mess question for Ryan. Let's see what he comes up with.
I'm excited.
Are you?
Yeah. It's going to be good.
We'll see. Okay. Okay.
What is it?
They're kind of mid questions. I'm not.
You don't like them?
Do better. Thanks, buddy.
Do better.
Messier and funnier. Okay. So, Ryan, what's the most unhinged thing you've done in your business when you were having a full self-esteem crisis?
Unhinged. I don't know if I'm an overly unhinged person. I don't do a lot of unhinged things.
Is there any choice that you made when you were having self-doubt that later you look back and you were like,
Yeah. I mean, I think the biggest choice that I made is it was a series of choices, right? Like when I was having major self-esteem issues, the choices that I made were again made to solve the problem instead of to honor myself. And I know that that's not necessarily unhinged, but like that's it, right? When you're like, I'm having a self-esteem issue, right? I don't feel valuable. I don't feel worthy. So I'm willing to do whatever to solve this problem. Meaning like I started an entire marketing agency to try to make money because I thought that's what, you know, that people would pay me for done for you services, right? I could charge more for done for you services, right? Like I created a whole, gosh, Courtney, I created like 3 different iterations of my business trying to solve a self-esteem problem, right? Like, I think that's the thing. Like early on, it was like, oh, well, this isn't working. It must be the business, right? It's not working. So people must not like this product. They must not like this service. They must not like this. They must not like this. I have to change the outside thing to get people to buy or to keep the business alive or to make payroll. Like that happened a lot of times, right? So to me, the choices were all about, you know, how do I rearrange the outside world to somehow fix the inside problem? So I don't know if that's unhinged, but it's something I did a lot of before I started doing this work. And I see this all the time, right? Mm-hmm. People will change brokerages. They will change marketing strategies. They will change niches. They will change, you know, whatever it takes to solve a problem when that's never actually
instead of working on the inside.
Yeah.
It's an inside problem.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, that's not necessarily unhinged, but I'm like, no, I did. I mean, I created probably 6 or 7 brands because I was like, oh, it must be the brand. It must be the product. It must be the price. It must be the market. It must be the this and this and this. So again, not necessarily probably the unhinged response Dante was looking for, but definitely.
Dante's messy.
Right. But the biggest thing is, yeah, like trying to fit into the box instead of realizing that it was actually the box that was causing it.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you for your time. And I appreciate you. And then like 3 weeks, you're just going to have to fly to Dallas.
Cool. Game
So you
on.
can sit on the couch with me
Oh, I'm excited.
and we can do it live then. Yes. Well, thank you again
Yeah.
so much. And then where can everyone find you? You're in the Happy Agent
I am in the Happy Agent Facebook
group.
group. Yep.
Yeah.
I am on TikTok at Ryan Gillen Official. I am Ryan Gillen on Facebook, and I'm actually relaunching a Facebook group, which I am just giggling about because I had a Facebook group years ago with like 7,000 people in it, and I shut it down because Facebook groups were just not it, right? That's the most unhinged thing I ever did was have
Unhinged.
7,000 people because
Yeah,
it just
you were
wasn't
like,
serving me anymore.
yeah, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah. So, I'm relaunching the group, which I'm really, really excited about. So it's called the Uncensored Self. It's the backstage pass. So it's the extension of my podcast and kind of the behind the scenes of what's going on, some just additional content, training series, things like that. So those are all places to come hang out. But I do hang out in the Happy Agent Collective Facebook group, and I try to share content there that's specific to you guys, which I've actually been having a lot of fun with, like creating real estate agent specific content, because I work with a lot of different industries. So it's fun to kind of like really kind of put my sales hat back on and create content for you guys. So that's fun.
And we appreciate it. And thank you for always showing up as yourself
Thank you.
and telling us not what we want to hear, but what we need to hear. So we appreciate that. And then hopefully I'll be doing the podcast next Tuesday live. We're not sure because Facebook took away that live share feature, which is why we
Interesting.
ended up doing this. Yeah, just they're like, we just got rid of that feature. So,
Right.
and then I created the Facebook business thing to stream into, and they're like, it's too new. Maybe in a couple weeks, ma'am.
Right.
Yes. Okay. But still here, still showing up,
Yeah.
solve the problem, move on. Right.
Amen.
So,
That's the
all
word.
right. Well, have a good day.
You too.
And I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.